Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Control Liberties podcast. My name is Ike and today I'm joined by the master of fear and masturbation, Salsa Shark.
I'm gonna need you to tone her way the fuck down, bro.
Honestly, I felt like needed to give you some kind of like intro there, like we're in wrestling or some shit.
I mean,
Um,
don't get me wrong, it was a very accurate intro, but man,
the
I don't have
mas-
the energy for that right now.
the master of fear and masturbation.
Often at the same time.
You're fearful while you masturbate. That sounds like a
Mark me
condition.
down as scared and horny.
Which actually is a perfect segue into something we wanted to talk about. For those of us who are very scared and apparently horny for Resident Evil, Big Mommy Milker Campfire Goth GF, basically they're loving it, and they are. They also put out like how tall she is. She's like supposedly like 8 foot tall or 9 foot tall or some shit.
Oh no, she is 9'6".
Hell yeah.
She is taller than Nemesis.
That is incredible, honestly.
And
Honestly incredible.
I love the fact that Capcom put out a tweet. They're just like, wow, we're so happy and proud that you guys love our characters. And literally every comment and response is just people posting pictures of their fan art of her. A lot of which was very not safe for work content.
But you know what? This is the beauty of the internet. the true beauty of the internet. But yeah, so I guess they basically they're loving that shit. Um, which I mean, pop off, honestly, pop off, guys. I mean, we're doing something right. If Capcom's going to acknowledge all these thirsty geek boys, then hey, I guess we're doing something right. Uh, but yeah, last week, kind of a recap. We talked about Phasmophobia, Among Us. Basically, we were kind of talking about some like super popular shit that kind of exploded over the last couple months. And we kind of seen an uptick in popularity for that, like due to different streaming platforms. Obviously, everybody and their mother was streaming Among Us for a hot minute. Same thing with Phasmophobia. Both of them, though, including this other one we're going to talk about, which is Fall Guys. They're all kind of slipping into the background again. I feel like Among Us is still pretty popular, and so is Phasmophobia. But I really haven't seen many people playing Fall Guys lately, so I feel like that one's kind of slipping into the unknown, if you will.
It's very reminiscent of that story about, I can't remember, some Greek parable or fable or something of the kid who flew too close to the sun.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Icarus.
Yeah, Icarus. You
The only
know,
reason I know that is the Bastille song. Icarus was flying too
I
close to the sun.
I only know like one Bastille song, and it's Pompeii. So
Pompeii. I was gonna say another Greco-Roman related content.
I mean, hey, props to them for monopolizing on the lack of Greco-Roman music. So
Right, right. Pop songs made about Greco-Roman myth and fables. Well, I guess Pompeii wasn't a fable because it actually fucking happened, but
it's a fable in the sense that the moral of the story is don't live in fucking Pompeii.
yes, they don't live near an active volcano, you fucking dipshits. But anyways, cuck
Word,
boys in Pompeii.
word to the wise: active volcanoes, not good real estate.
Should also probably tell the people in Hawaii this as well.
One would think, milk is like $10 a gallon there, and they live next to active volcanoes. Surely the nature isn't beautiful enough to warrant the constant life endangerment.
Right, the constant adrenaline rush of fight or flight, having to always be concerned about rolling lava.
Like
That's alright.
I'm pretty sure I heard a story the other day about someone, like a friend of the family who lived there and has already had to like buy two new houses because the government had to buy the other two because they were covered in lava.
See, isn't that weird though that like the government's like, yeah, we'll just buy your houses because they got consumed by lava.
I mean, to be fair, it's their fault for allowing people to build there in the first place. Kind of
Right,
got
that's
to
what I
take
was gonna say.
responsibility for that.
They're like, we gotta pony up, some money for them volcano eating houses.
Volcano insurance, pretty profitable.
I would say, wasn't there like I'm pretty sure there's a Family Guy episode about volcano insurance.
I can't remember if it was Family Guy or The Simpsons, but I remember it where he's like, well, do you need volcano insurance? And he's like, we don't live next to a volcano. Not yet.
True,
It's
accurate,
literally the entire joke.
bro. But if you think about it, I guess a volcano could happen at any fucking time.
Well, your odds of dying by volcano are close to zero, but never quite zero.
What's that meme? Your chances of dying by a mysterious volcano isn't very likely, but never zero.
All
But
right,
anyways, back to what you were saying.
so yeah, in the sense of Icarus, I feel like each of these games, they had their time in the sun. You know, they flew too high and they reached incredible heights. Literally, you could not hear about Among Us, Phasmophobia, or
Yeah,
even Fall Guys. I log into Twitter and it's just clips of people getting that battle royale, fucking victory royale and shit. I don't know. I've not played any of these games. But I mean, it went too far. Literally, I could not log into any social media without seeing some dumb shit about, ooh, red is sus, red is sus.
oh my god, I hated that shit.
Like, people would literally, like, I don't know, Photoshop the president as a red imposter and be like, oh, red is sus. It's like, if you're going to announce that you're going to assassinate a political figure, it better not be like this.
Bro, what would we have done as just like people if like somebody was like, "Yo, orange is sus," and then somebody just killed Donald Trump? Like, I mean, honestly, that would be the ultimate like besmirchment of his name that he was memed on and then assassinated.
Okay, so hypothetically, in the scenario, someone has just assassinated the former president of the United States after saying, well, out loud, orange is sus.
Yep.
As much as I hate the former president of the United States and, would not shed a tear for his passing, even I would have to be on his side during this.
You're like, look, this amount of disrespect is unproportionate.
Like, I really have to weigh which do I hate more, the former president or Among Us. Ooh.
big, big, large-sized oof.
I mean, one, a fat orange dumbass, and the other, ooh, cringe.
Right. But to be fair, I mean, like Among Us was pretty cringe. I would kind of put it up there at the same level as like Fortnite, and not because the game's bad, but because of like the clientele. Honestly,
It's
um,
always the audience that ruins
yeah,
it. Because,
it's it's very rarely the game game.
yeah, because Among Us, great idea. It's literally just the thing, the video game.
Right.
And I
Oh, I
love
love
it.
that movie.
But the minute you let just people exist in the same realm as this content, they are going to make it fucking unbearable.
Exactly.
Same thing with fucking Phasmophobia. I love the idea. We do not have many games where you hunt ghosts that are not terrible games. But now it's like, yeah, I want to play it. But on the other hand, I literally cannot, for a solid 3 months, could not log on to YouTube without seeing a million videos of people talking about the new levels, the new gear, what's the best way to do stuff, what's broken, what's OP. I don't care. I just want to see some dudes hunting ghosts and cracking jokes.
Right.
It's like, you literally get the chance to play out your own Ghostbusters fantasy, and then you don't.
Right. And then you do
Bro,
this shit.
exactly. So yeah, Phasmophobia, Among Us, talked about those last week. But on to Fall Guys. Again, a very unique concept. Well, not really that unique. It was a very basic game.
Right.
But people liked it. And it looked fun. Like a little arcade game you can play at any time. And it only cost like 15 or 20 bucks, so not gonna hurt your wallet.
Right.
But yeah, like you said, it's dead. I have not heard anyone speak its name in months, outside of
Yeah,
an occasional careless whisper.
so that's like that's a song by Careless Whisper. That's who sang the song.
I can barely name a total of 10 actors, so don't count on
It's
me to remember who sang a song.
Wham, I think.
I'm gonna say no. The name George comes to mind.
Well, I think it's George Michaels, but I think that's he's part of Wham.
Okay, hold up. Let me. Careless Whisper by George Michael. Now let me look up. God, I can't type on this keyboard. George Michael, singer songwriter. Wow, that did not answer my question. Let's see. Yeah, I guess he was in Wham. George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley. That is really unfortunate.
Andrew Ridgeley.
Yeah, you don't. You either become a rock star with that kind of name, or you die an accountant.
I'm pretty sure I know a couple of people that where I work that have like names very similar to that.
All right. Where were
But
we?
anyway, yeah, what were we talking about? Because you said there was a careless whisper. So
Oh
what?
yeah,
Yeah, it was about Fall Guys.
yeah. Basically, have not heard anyone talk about it in months, aside from a careless whisper, not meaning to imply the song, but you went off.
Pop off.
So, but yeah, basically, no one's talking about it. They are still releasing content occasionally, which kind of shows an uptick in popularity for a month, maybe, whenever they put out something new. But other than that, it's dead. It
Of
was
course.
not a long-lasting project. We all saw this coming, basically. If anything, the only thing that's surprising is that Among Us outlasted it.
Yeah.
Like my money would have. Don't even.
But no, yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I'm trying to read the list of things to talk about, and my eyes just. I may have just had an aneurysm. Oh man.
No, well, no. What I was gonna say is I agree. Honestly, the only reason Among Us is surviving as long as it has is because basically it's been able to create enough memes for it to be worthwhile.
Which is the most unfortunate thing about it, because yeah, there's a couple good memes, but most of them are literally catering to like the lowest common denominator.
Absolute subpar humans.
People who, were it not for political correctness, I would say fall outside of the standard deviation of the gene pool.
Okay, I mean, I I understand.
You get what I'm saying.
Which is true. I mean, honestly, and it kind of sucks too because like I feel like Among Us 2 also could have had like a really honestly, it could have been much bigger than it was. And I think that, it still could possibly reach that same state of like absolute insanity. But honestly, I think the thing that killed it so early, in my opinion, was how overhyped it got. everybody and their mother was going to be playing it. They put it on mobile devices. I mean, literally everything. And I feel like they did too much too quick. And sometimes too much too quick is a death sentence for small indie games, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've only got very limited resources, a very small team, and by putting out too much content too quickly, they oversaturated their own market, basically.
Right.
People then expected too much out of them too quickly, and they couldn't live up with the pace that they set.
Exactly. It's one of those. It's like, what is it? It's like plateauing. They're doing so much at once, creating a really big idea, big concept, big money, all of that, but they're not able to follow through. They're only able to hype it up, do all the legwork, and then eventually get to the point where they can't outdo themselves anymore.
And again, it all goes back to Icarus. Flew
Yep.
too close to the sun and was shot down.
I mean, he wasn't shot down. The sun just melted his wings.
In a sense.
I mean, I suppose. I mean, it's not like it's not like he was shot down by like a VTOL or something.
Dude got straight hammered by some fucking SAM rockets.
I was gonna say it's not like they're that like the old Greco-Roman empires had fucking ground to air defense or anything. Maybe arrows.
It's like what game was that? Call of Duty Black Ops 2, where Icarus is like, "Look, father, I'm flying." Enemy AC-130 above. Hunter killer drone active.
Oh shit!
Right.
Enemy UAV.
Have you seen that video of the guy just in his car screaming enemy AC-130 above as loud as he humanly can?
No.
I think it originated from, well, I don't know why he did it, but I remember after he did it, the actual voice actor for Mozzie in Rainbow Six Siege, on a live stream with the YouTuber The Russian Badger, he screamed as loud as he humanly could at a seagull, reinforcing seagull. So hard that he said he actually, I think, sprang the muscle in his neck.
Jesus Christ.
Like, if I find the video, I'll send it to you. But God, it is hilarious.
I was like, please do.
But yeah, while I'm looking that up, we can continue talking about the next thing on the docket.
Good Lord. Okay, so this is funny. The Division 2 can suck my fat fucking cock.
Go on.
1 second. I gotta respond to somebody.
All right, I'll finish that one for you.
Actually, I got it here. I got it. Don't worry. All right, Division 2 can suck my fat fucking cock. Why the fuck would you make a crossover cosmetic event available to only DLC owners who have beat said DLC? Better yet, why make a crossover event with an old game with a low player count instead of a game like Breakpoint that is actually still pretty new and needs more post-launch content to make up for its fucky wucky shit that happened during year one? Oh wow.
So, if you would like, I can clarify.
Please do.
All right, so starting at top of the order, Division 2 can suck my fat fucking cock. What I mean there is, the Division 2 has made a huge mistake and is part of a very scummy practice in that they did a crossover event with Resident Evil in that you can collect outfits from Resident Evil characters to use in the Division 2. I think the list was Leon, Resident Evil 2 Leon, Resident
Okay.
Evil 2 Claire, or Resident Evil 2 Remake Claire, Resident Evil 1 Jill and Chris, Resident Evil 4 Leon's jacket, and obviously Hunk. But they don't list them as Hunk. They list them as Umbrella Countermeasure Operative or something. I don't know. Point is, all the outfits looked pretty damn cool. And all they said leading up to the event was, hey, log in February 2nd, and for 2 weeks, you can unlock these outfits. And I was like, wow, I hate the Division 2, but you know what I do like?
You're a whore. I was like, you're a whore for cosmetics.
Exactly. I cannot tell you how many times I will be sitting in my anywhere playing a game, and I just think to myself, I am a whore for cosmetics. I will sit there for an hour just customizing a character. And not even like making the character. I'm talking an hour into the game, 10 hours into the game, anytime really. I will stop what I'm doing mid firefight and just customize my character. Like, man, yeah, I look pretty cool. But what if? So obviously I was down for the event. I love Resident Evil. I love the outfits. So I download the game again, and I've only played prior to today maybe 20 minutes of the game, literally just enough to beat the intro mission and then make it to the first outpost. So I log in, I do a mission, and I'm like, okay, so when do I start unlocking outfits? So I start looking at the menus, trying to figure it out, and I see it say something about, yeah, you just gotta beat Warlords of New York first, and I'm like, okay, that's a problem. So I started digging into it, looking at articles online, and no article outright says you need to beat the DLC to start this shit, but it's implied.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, this is bullshit. So I go to the location on the map to start this mission, assuming that maybe they've made the mission, the DLC, free. Obviously, they won't. That was just wishful thinking on my part. So, long story short, not only have they locked a crossover event behind DLC, crossover event. Hold on, let me. The Division 2 is a $60 game.
Yep.
I purchased a $60 game. I am told there is a crossover event for the Division 2. Then, lo and behold, I then have to purchase a $30 DLC for that $60 game just to access 95% of the content for a crossover event. A 2-week crossover event. And get this, you only unlock these outfits by random chance by opening the, what do you call them? Like,
Loot crates.
yeah, loot crates. And literally, to unlock a single loot crate, you have to level up 4 times.
Ooh.
So literally, I would have to beat the whole New York shit, and then I would have to level up. Let's see, if there's 21 items, 21 times 4, that's 84 times.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, that's assuming I haven't messed something up, or they haven't fucked me over more. So yeah, not only have they locked it behind a paywall, 2 paywalls actually. First, you have to pay to get into the game, the $60. Then you have to pay for the DLC. Then you have to beat the DLC. So there's 3 walls you have to get through. Then they make it as grindy as possible. It's not enough to just say, hey, here's 21 random loot crates spread throughout the world. Go find them. That would have been hard enough in 2 weeks.
Right.
Or, hey, 1 level up gets you 1 card. 21 levels in 2 weeks? That's not easy. You would have to play hours every night to do that.
And I mean, and I imagine you were already super high level in the game. I'm sure that's not going to be easy to get to gain additional levels.
Exactly. If you were high level, it's not going to be easy. I'm not because I have not. I literally, as soon as I found out about the event, I re-downloaded the game at level 2 because I had only touched it once before. After finding out the event is locked behind that many walls, I deleted the game again. I just said fuck it. I ain't doing it.
It's funny because, Salsa told me like last week, I think it was, that hey, I should download the Division 2. And I kept forgetting, and something reminded me this morning or last night or something. So I went and I got it going, and then it wasn't even finished yet. And then Salsa was like, "Okay, yeah." So basically, what it is that they are a bunch of fucking assholes. So
Yeah, no, let me rephrase. I basically told you last week sometime that you should download it and we should, I don't know, either stream it together and do the events and whatnot. And then yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I said, hey, did you get around to downloading the Division 2? RE event starts Tuesday. And literally at 3:38 p.m. today, when I finally logged in, I texted you, yeah, forget the RE event. Isn't available to anyone who didn't buy the Warlords of New York DLC, which is absolute shit. I cannot even begin to express how disappointing this is. So needless to say, today has been nothing but, I don't know if I'll
defeating.
call it heartbreak, but spiritually taxing.
Yes.
Oh, where else can I even go with that? I think I've covered everything. And then obviously, I say, hey, it makes more sense. They should have done this crossover with Breakpoint.
Yeah.
Breakpoint is in dire need of more content. They just finished another live event, which went over terribly. And everyone is saying, hey, the one thing we want most right now is more content, but most of all, more cosmetics. The Breakpoint community is hard as diamonds for cosmetics. These people literally raging hard ons bursting through their jeans at the mere thought of new outfits they can put on in a video game. I'm totally with them, don't get me wrong, but these
Right.
people are at another level. And what better game to put the outfits in?
True.
Not to mention, Breakpoint. In my opinion, I don't know why they would choose the Division 2. The Division 2 is not a very played game anymore. Yeah, it still has a kind of a following, but
But not nearly as much as Breakpoint. Like even like I would say that I boot up Breakpoint 1000% more than 1000% more than I boot up any other game like the Division or fucking Division 2. I've never even booted up the Division 2, mind you. So and I would much rather play Breakpoint because it's not a bunch of DPS bullshit.
yeah, I was gonna say, God bless your soul. Having never booted up the Division 2, you are more likely to get in heaven than I am. Your soul is cleaner.
Fair enough. I
The,
would consider myself lucky then.
the the goodness of my soul was tarnished just touching that game. Because to this day I can still not find it in me to forgive them for ruining everything that is the Division with dumbass looter shooter, grindy bullet sponge mechanics. Because they give us the Division, which I love New York in the winter. I love the post kind of apocalyptic feel to it. I love the environmental storytelling. And all they had to do was take that and put it into, I don't know, Breakpoint or Wildlands. Use that formula, a
Right.
tactical shooter. It would have been phenomenal. Instead, they said, nah, we want Destiny, but bad.
Right. I like Destiny.
Yeah, Destiny was actually fun, funny enough.
I've actually played quite a bit of Destiny 1. I never opened up Destiny 2 though.
I have it for the PC, but I've never booted it up. I
Maybe
guess
we'll have to boot up Destiny 1 sometime and go back and play it.
I would like that. I've always wanted to get back into Destiny 1.
Honestly, I can't remember what level I am in that game, but like I'm actually fairly high level. I'm not like probably not as high of a level as you are, but like I pretty much completed all of the solo missions that I could complete. But I remember I had that game during when I first moved into my apartment, and it was like one of the only games downloaded on my Xbox. So like I couldn't go online, of course, but I could still play the offline mode of Destiny, which was like a bunch of like was like a handful of single player missions. So like I played those a lot,
I'm
but
I'm pretty sure I played all of the single player stuff and a few of the multiplayer stuff, like where you have to have a fire team.
right, that's what I was gonna say. There are a couple ones where you have to have somebody else.
Because I'm pretty sure I know most of the story of the first one outside of a couple things here or there.
Right.
But God, Destiny really was a pretty good game.
It was honestly it was a pretty solid game. Obviously, all games have their issues, but I think Destiny was one of those games where like it made DPS not seem as shitty as it was, and like
Exactly.
when you did have DPS mechanics that were active during the game, they were done so in a way that it wasn't overbearing. Like it made sense. Everything was scaled. It wasn't like, oh, if you enter the zone, you're going to get absolutely butt fucked because you're not level 400. It was one of those situations where you can do other stuff and then eventually build yourself up to it. But some games aren't like that. Some games are just fucky.
I remember when Destiny was about to come out, I was there in the beta because your boy was hyped as hell. Because who doesn't love Bungie? Bungie just got off of the tail end of making some of the best Halos.
Yep.
Halo 3, ODST, Reach. So they're coming hot off the tail of that. And they're like, hey, we've got a brand new sci fi adventure for all of you Halo fans. I was pumped. I played the beta and I was in love. I remember when I was playing the beta, there was a weird, what I thought was a glitch at the time. There were a group of enemies in this little cave in the small map you could play on who didn't have a level and you could not damage them. And basically, what it was is it was them hinting at how they were going to handle leveling. Basically, if you were 5 levels under the enemies in a certain area, you would not be able to really damage them. But it was rare to go into an area and be out leveled. I
Right.
cannot I can't really name a single time that I was ever out leveled except for maybe when I was dicking around and went too far into a zone I wasn't supposed to be in.
Right, but it's almost like they warn you before you go into those areas. Right.
Exactly.
But some games don't do that. Like the Division didn't do that. I mean, the Division never really prepares you for the absolute fuckery when you try and go into areas because like sometimes it'll like be like, yeah, your level this, recommended level is this, and sometimes it didn't really matter. The recommended level was just bullshit. It was arbitrary. But then sometimes sometimes the recommended level was a requirement because you go into the zone and just get fucked. I mean, and the same thing with whatever the multiplayer mode was. I don't remember what that was. We
The
talked about it
dark
before.
zone.
Right, yeah, and the dark zone has its own set of rules, which isn't really ever clearly stated either.
Like I remember it I played the entirety of the story mode for the Division. And I was pretty much level capped. And I went into the dark zone for the first time completely befuddled. I had no idea what the hell was going on. My character, who could, take out anyone in the regular world, literally went in there and was like, oh yeah, baby mode activated. My guns did no damage to the most basic enemies. I was immediately outgunned by any human player, let alone the AIs. It was just so poorly done that you could tell it was. They just didn't think about it. They were just
Right.
trying to make some bullshit to fill some time so that people would be like, technically there's enough content to warrant the price tag, but no, it was too much. It was bad.
But don't go. Let's not go down this track because then we will never move on.
Yeah, that's true.
But so basically, long story short, and a bunch of different tangents out of the way, Vision 2 can quite literally suck my fat fucking cock.
Bingo.
Bingo, bango, bongo. But so I guess the next thing we got to talk about, and honestly, I want to go back and revisit this because we tried to play this game originally on stream, but then we had a bunch of fuckiness that kind of opened up, and it was just really weird. But that being said, Battlefield 5, we stream, and it wouldn't let us play it because it said that I was like an unauthorized player because we share a console. But recently, I purchased because we had a deal on Games Pass where it was 3 months for $1.
Which is a good
So
way to get people hooked.
it is. So I purchased the 3 months for $1, and that being said, 3 months for $1, so I should be able to, in theory, access the game. And
I like the
yes,
in theory part of that.
exactly.
What should be as simple as hitting a button is now, I don't know if I have the proper credentials according to EA.
I don't because we looked it up because then when it happened, we like looked it up online, and there were other people having the same issue, but there were other people that paid like full price for the game, and like they were being given like the bullshit like you don't have access.
Can you imagine forking out $60 for a game that you know is not going to be as hype as its predecessor, and then going to log in and the game's just like, yeah, no, fuck you.
Be like, look, I was on the fence about playing you in the first place.
Listen, man, you were an afterthought.
Oh man, but I mean, and it's true. I mean, Battlefield 5, kind of you even mentioned it. I know we've talked about it too. Had a pretty rocky start. Uh, Basically, they decided the best way to do it was let's not do any advertising, and
I mean,
through
they
that process,
tried, but then everyone
right?
was like, hey, why does it suck? And,
Why so?
and yeah, and their response to that was, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Which I gotta say, bold move to tell your fan base to not buy your game. Which, obviously reflected on their sales. I remember when the game came out, I didn't even realize it had come out because no one was talking about it. Literally, I did not hear about it until months later when, I don't know, maybe a single video came out about it where someone was trying to defend, being like, okay, guys, it's not as bad as they say, it's playable.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the EC game was playable too,
I mean, if we're getting into technicalities.
I mean, for real though. But yeah, and I kind of was the same way. Honestly, I didn't know it had come out. Like I had saw one trailer, like God bless. I mean, long time ago. I mean, I think, I mean, easily multiple years ago. I think I heard a single, uh, I heard a single trailer for it, and it was on YouTube while I was watching some video. Just saw it in passing, and I didn't catch the date that it was coming out. But I was like, "Oh, great, another Battlefield game." Blah 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 blah. And then one day, randomly, Salsa's like, Oh yeah, by the way, I got the Battlefield 5 game from Games Pass or some shit, and I'm like, oh, what?
You're like, oh shit, that. Wi- It's weird.
Exactly.
It's weird because we both were pretty big fans of Battlefield 1.
Yeah,
Like,
honestly, I like Battlefield 1. It was pretty good. I mean, I would say that it wasn't my favorite Battlefield. I really enjoyed Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4.
yeah,
Um,
Battlefield 4 is where it was at. I
Honestly,
I
I
could
loved
not
it.
get enough of that fucking Chinese high-rise level where the tower comes crashing down.
Yep, I remember that.
God, such a good game. And Battlefield 1, didn't live up to that level in a certain way. But in other ways, I think it was a good Battlefield because it brought us something we were not expecting, which was a good game based in World War One. How
Yeah.
many games can you name that actually take place in that time period?
What I was gonna say was is that sorry, 1 second. Had somebody ask me a question. Anyways, but no, it honestly that's what I was gonna say is too is like how many video games do you know of that like like in a good way produce a video game about World War One? It it reminds me of like I don't know if you ever played there was a Civil War game that was made by like the
The
History
History
Channel.
Channel?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I'm familiar.
honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I love that game, but I loved it for the purpose that it was so awful and so cheesy and absolutely made no sense, but at the same time, I enjoyed playing it.
And you know what the funny thing about that is now?
What's that?
Is that back then, that kind of game scoffed at. Everyone's like, wow, that is so dumb. Yet now there are dedicated communities of people who play large scale online Revolutionary War battles where they literally get into character and talk in accents and do the whole line up and shoot thing.
Yep,
It's hilarious, but I love the dedication. I love that these people have found a community.
same. Be like, I'm glad they found people like them.
It's heartwarming.
Right. And honestly, and it's funny because like that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like I played that Civil War game, and I honestly kind of thought that like Battlefield One was gonna be like that. It was gonna be like some shitty like representation of the World War One. Because I mean, for people who may not know about like, I mean, I guess people don't know history. World War One happened in the late 1900s into the early 1910s, and I mean, technologically speaking, we were more advanced than the Civil War period. But when it comes to weaponry, really weren't. Like we had some advancements, but we were by no means at the point we were in World War Two that we were in World War One.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, tanks were just invented, and only
Yeah,
like a couple nations had them. And even then, your odds of dying in a tank were still pretty high.
right. And typically, if you were going to die in the tank, it wasn't because of enemy intervention. It was because the fucker just blew up. I mean,
Like, they didn't program it into the games because they thought that might have been a little too bullshit to just spawn and die.
right? They're just like, let's put you in the tank and then let it blow up. Uh, but I mean, and it's like, so it was interesting to see that somebody did go in and try and make an accurate representation of World War One. Obviously, I'm sure historians got all over their shit about different things because there were obviously some misconceptions and whatnot. But
Creative liberties, if you
exactly, creative liberties on historical fiction, on historical nonfiction. Uh,
I mean, come on, man.
I mean, I don't know what I expected, honestly, but they did a good job. Battlefield One was entertaining. Um, the honestly, that opening mission where you're playing as like different people who like just fucking died, and like you maybe get lucky enough to take one or two people out like before you die.
I remember playing that mission for the first time and being blown away, because while it wasn't technologically advanced or particularly special in any way, the way it was presented. Like, I remember it literally shows you that black screen that says, "This is frontline combat. You are not expected to survive." To this day,
Right.
that still gives me chills.
Because I mean that's accurate. I mean, not that they told their soldiers that, but in World War One, I mean, they were not expected to live. I mean, like, let's be real. I mean, between the mustard gas and between the elements and our lack of medical knowledge and everything else, more people died of like the flu, hypothermia,
Trench
shell
foot.
shock, yeah, trench foot, shell shock. I mean, people were literally getting so concussed by like mortar shells that literally their brains would just die. They would just snap die. I mean, no questions asked, just fucking die. And then not only that, this was like one of the first times that chemical warfare was used, and people were using mustard gas. Mustard gas would kill you in like a minute.
Honestly, the best way to die in World War One was probably to get shot or stabbed. That
That's what I
was
was gonna say.
the least painful way. Any other way, disease, trench foot, hypothermia, mustard gas. I can't even comprehend how horrendous that death must have been.
Right. At least if I take if I catch a bullet with my teeth, I mean, at least I'm not gonna have to suffer.
Exactly. Once the bullet enters my head, it's no longer my problem.
Once the bullet enters my head, it is no longer an issue.
I'll say, it reminds me of a story I heard about this guy talking to his buddy who was in an EOD, like an explosives disarming unit, and he basically said to the guy, "Hey, how do you do it? How do you maintain the composure under that much pressure?" And the bomb disposal guy says, "Well, it's really not that hard. I just think either I'm right or it's no longer an issue.
I mean,
No longer my problem."
either I'm right or I no longer have to give a fuck. But honestly, if you think about it too, this is kind of back to what you were saying. In World War One, I mean, if you got like trench foot or if you got the flu or if you got sick or any of that shit, I mean, you just sat in the trenches and you just fucking died. I mean, generally speaking, I mean, they had medics, but I mean, they, I honestly don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they didn't bring into consideration like civilian medics until World War Two. I mean, World War One was one of those battles where they weren't really sending civilians over to be medical personnel. They were training actual soldiers on like, techniques and whatnot to do that.
Well, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the longest running web show on the internet, Red versus Blue. But in their words, a doctor heals people. A medic just makes you more comfortable as you die.
I mean, yeah,
That's pretty much the medic's goal. In World War One, it was literally, I can put a pillow under your head. Would you like a sip of kind of clean water? I can spit in your bullet wounds and see if that disinfects it.
especially in World War One. I mean, obviously, modern combat. Sorry, obviously, modern combat is different, but
I would
I mean,
hope so.
I mean,
All the
it's
money we're funneling
moderately
into
different.
the military. But what was I
But
gonna say?
what were we talking about?
I guess we were talking about how good Battlefield 1 was, and then what happened with Battlefield 5.
The Battlefield 5, because Battlefield 5 was about World War II, right? So I've actually never played it. I've only
Yeah.
played the intro.
I mean, I'll kind of explain it as best I can. The multiplayer is mostly Germany versus Britain.
Okay.
There are now, after launch, they've added Americans and the Japanese, but a majority of the game is just Germans versus Brits. And
Britons.
it's not bad, it's Britons. But obviously the game has a lot of issues. Too many people, they don't play Battlefield like a Battlefield should be played. Battlefield is not a run and gun kind of game. Battlefield is meant to be a slightly more realistic Call of Duty, where it pays to hang with your allies, hunker down, and, just set up shop.
Right.
Whereas this game is like, hey, as long as you have access to like one of these guns, no one can stop you.
You are
Like
God.
literally, I cannot tell you how many 12-year-old kids I have seen sprinting through the map with the STG-44, just shredding people. And there's no way to counter it. The only way to counter those people is to predict where they will be before they're there, or do what they do. And even then, you probably will not get into your rhythm until the end of the match.
The STG, that's like it looks like an early version of the AK, right?
Yeah, it was meant
Stare and Og, isn't it?
yeah. Originally it was meant to be an improvement to the MP40, but they couldn't call it the MP44 because it wasn't really a machine pistol. It was too high caliber. But I do say there are some good additions to Battlefield 5. Like in previous Battlefields, when it came to heavy machine guns, you could just equip it, aim down sight, do whatever. Whereas in this game, you can, if you have a light machine gun, yeah, you can aim down sight at any point and just fire. But
Right.
if you have a MMG, you can only aim down sight if you're using the bipod.
Okay, I got you.
It's a very unique feature, but the cool thing about it is every MMG, because you can upgrade guns in this game. It's kind of weird, but it's just stuff like if you level up 4 times with a gun, you can choose one of 2 different upgrades for every level that alter how the gun works. Usually stuff like, I don't know, a buff to recoil or a buff to something. My favorite is the level 20 MMG. Forget what it's called. It's the Buzzsaw is what they nicknamed it, the Germans.
Buzzsaw is ready.
I can't. It's not the FG-42. It's the MG-42. It's literally got an insane rate of fire, but you can upgrade it. A 50-round belt, 100-round belt. Literally, the thing is nuts. I cannot name a gun that compares to it. If I can just, in any map, find a good place to lay down with the bipod, I could easily wipe out 20 people before I'm gunned down.
you're sitting there.
Like, the biggest problem with guns in that game is you have to find a gun that deals a good amount of damage at a high rate with minimal recoil. Because any gun that does a lot of damage, too much recoil. Any gun that has no recoil, not enough damage. Very thin line you have to follow. If you have a bipod gun, good. You have to make sure it has good damage, or at least a good rate of fire.
Right.
But most of the guns, like the Browning M2, I don't know how to describe it. you know what I'm talking about, the Browning machine gun.
Yeah, like the one that was like in any World War II game.
Literally just like a rectangle with a handle.
Right.
250 round box fed, but fires hella slow and only does decent damage. A
So I
couple
mean,
shots, yeah, you're
right.
done.
I got you. I would say because like in like for instance, I mean just for comparison, like in Call of Duty, World of War, that gun shreds. Like that got pretty high rate of fire. I mean,
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good power. It's just you I mean, especially like on zombies, for instance, because that's where I've used it the most is zombies, but it just destroys.
biggest thing is this game is very heavy on not like realism, like gameplay wise, but a lot of the guns do handle very realistically. Like
Gotcha.
the Browning M2, in real life, it's a very slow firing gun. Obviously, it does decent damage per bullet, but like I said, if you do not kill them in the first like 3 shots, they will hone in on you and lay your ass out. But it's really good at pinning down people. Like I could hunker down and just hold down enemies all day. Obviously, fire slower, so it's slower to overheat. The thing they've added with MGs is they can actually overheat.
That motherfucker overheating, sweating over here. What's the
I
there
mean,
was a or go ahead, sorry, I was gonna say there was another game who added that in, but like I want to say it was one of the Call of Duties where they added it in like to like for like the machine guns. I can't remember which one it was. It may have been World War II because like they made Call of Duty World War II where they added in a function that like I'm pretty sure they added a function for that. I feel like
I'm not sure. I've not heard about that function in many games outside of like mounted guns. So pretty much every FPS where there is a mounted gun, it automatically has a overheat function. But I don't know. I guess back to the point, Battlefield 5, it's not a bad game now. I definitely think it still has a lot of issues. For one, I don't think that I should be able to hit a flying by plane with over 200 points of damage from a 40 millimeter flat gun, and then they still have time to drop a bomb on me, fly away, somehow fix all the damage I did to them, and then do it again once I'm in the flat gun again. It's like, what the fuck?
honestly, and that was something that I honestly was like when excuse me, when I played Call of Duty, like one, or I'm sorry, not Call of Duty, fuck, Battlefield 1, like there was some vehicle combat, but like I always felt like the vehicles in Battlefield 1 were always overpowered unless you had like the what was that, like the anti-tank gun.
Oh yeah, it's like the bipod and it shoots that huge ass round.
Right, and you have to be like it has to be deployed on a bipod before you can shoot it.
I mean, that's pretty realistic when you think about it.
I mean, I
Back,
suppose that is true.
I mean, back then, if you had a tank, yeah, your odds of living were still pretty low, but you were basically invulnerable to incoming small arms fire.
You're like, your puny handgun won't kill me, but the poisonous exhaust will.
Exactly. I'm slowly suffocating. Mike, I will probably be illiterate by the time we are done.
honestly, this is just random, but one of the things that like killed a lot of people too that were like in tanks is the fact that they would get covered in like the axle grease and the grease that they would use to like lubricate the main gun and shit. Like there was like the grease was toxic. It was essentially acidic, and it would like fucking melt their skin off and shit. But they never made any changes to it. Good old America.
Well, when you think about it, if you're gonna die in World War One, it's not gonna be pretty. It's not gonna be fun. You're probably gonna be screaming and crying for your mother. So we might as well do some fucked up shit like melt people's skin off with, grease. Might as
Like
well.
you're not gonna come home in one piece, but that's fine.
As long as you've provided your heart and soul for your country, yeah, it's fine if you go home not quite in a body bag. You're still walking with a limp. All the skin on your legs melted, your hands horribly disfigured, but at least you can go back home. Not to your wife. She's long left you because you're too hard to look at. But you can go back home.
But you can't go back home. And I want people to understand that we're not talking shit about the actual people who survived this stuff. We're talking shit about the military.
Yeah, fuck the military. They're the ones who did this to us.
True. The military industrial complex.
It's like, damn, bro, I love spending trillions of dollars on the military. On the other hand, damn, wouldn't it be cool if we could actually take care of our vets once they're not in the military? But political commentary aside.
Right. So basically, Battlefield 5, it has promise. It's not horrible. Has its issues, as it is everything. But fingers crossed, it'll get better like fine wine.
And I'll say, to finish off on that, if you do play Battlefield 5, never ever use the mounted gun on top of a tank. Literally, you are a moving target for every sniper in a 20-mile radius. Every time I get in one, immediately, a Lee Enfield round just goes right through my temple.
Lee Enfield, bro, you caught that bullet like JFK, man.
No, less graceful.
Oh Lord. Oh, excuse me. I ate some Takis and it's giving me heartburn.
Your bloodline is weak.
Apparently, you are. Oh, fuck you. I swear to God.
You motherfucker.
Anyways, wow. So we've actually reached our hour mark here, so we won't continue on to our next one. But a little snippet for next week. We're gonna probably talk about the Uncharted movie. So there's been some shit about that, so something to look forward to for next week. But man, I say we spent a lot of time talking shit about World War One, and we spent a lot of time talking shit about the Division too. Gotta love it.
Well, we are pretty good at talking shit.
Oh,
That
Lord.
is our motto.
Okay, we're over here. We're over here like, man, if you got killed by a gun in World War II, World War One, you were lucky.
Yeah, it is weird. A gaming podcast that weirdly we kind of tangent into just randomly. God, you know how much it would suck to get killed by mustard gas?
I mean, truthfully though, I don't want to dwell on it, but like, if I remember correctly
I don't want to dwell on it because it will give me nightmares thinking about.
Right, exactly. But no, like I remembered in my chemistry class because, well, this is a fun story, real quick. We can finish off on this, and if Salsa has anything else to say. But in my chemistry class during senior year, I took a chemistry class, and I was also in AP Bio. The chemistry class I took was like an advanced chemistry class, but it wasn't an AP class. If people don't know what AP is, it stands for Advanced Placement. Basically, it was the only moment.
Piercing.
So you thought it was what?
Armor piercing.
Yeah, AP. I'm a piercing biology. But anyways,
Shit, dude, I don't know.
anyways, but AP is for advanced placement. So for people who may not, I don't know who watches this podcast, but maybe they don't have AP where you're at. But basically, it's just like for smart people, well, quote unquote smart people. I don't purport myself to be a smart person, but you know how it is. Anyways, we had this advanced AP or the AP bio class, and we had an advanced chemistry class, and it was the same students in each of these classes. There was only like 10 of us, and it was the same teacher for both classes. I do not remember his name, but basically we had the same teacher for both classes. We were the same class for both classes, and the class periods were back to back. So like sometimes we would do like all day AP bio for 2 hours. Sometimes we would do all day chemistry for 2 hours. Anyways, we were in the lab one day, and for people who don't know, because mustard gas is the equivalent to like, it's not chlorine gas, but it's like it's another element that's made into a gaseous form.
Like chlorine gas is literally, if I'm not mistaken, like bleach and bleach and God, I'm literally gonna have to Google how to make chlorine gas, aren't I?
I don't think we should say that out loud on the podcast, but
Oh
so
no, it's fine.
so like for instance, like mustard gas, the ingredients is it's pure sulfur mustards, and it's like a bunch of other stuff. So basically, chlorine gas is incredibly toxic, basically.
Oh yeah, like
And
it literally burns out the inside of your lungs.
exactly. And actually, chlorine was first used as a weapon by the Germans on French, British, and Canadian troops during World War One. So this was chlorine gas is an early version of like mustard gas, essentially.
Pretty much.
Um, but that being said, so we were in the chemistry lab, and I remember somebody somehow, and it was completely by accident because it was this really completely innocent girl. She was like a grade below us because this was my senior year, so this was a junior. So she was completely innocent. She didn't know what she was doing. Honestly, I don't think she was. She was just putting liquid into like basically she was combining all of the chemicals into one big flask in an attempt to make it easier to carry over to the sink to dispose of it. Now, I don't think I think this should go without saying that you don't want to cut corners when it comes to chemicals. So pouring everything into one tube is like saying I am inviting death into my life today. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
and
I'm trying to wrap my head around. Literally, to save a couple seconds, she's like, "Yeah, let me just potentially mix the ingredients for, oh, I don't know,
Cyclone B or something.
Sorry. I was gonna say fucking oh, what's that fucking poison? That white powder they mail people?
Oh, anthrax.
Yeah. Yeah, might just make anthrax, to save a couple seconds.
But so she does this, and she picks up the bottle, and she's like, "Why is this getting hot?" Because sometimes when you mix sometimes when you mix chemicals, it generates heat. If people didn't know that, I've never taken chemistry before. So she's like, "Why is it getting hot?" And so she's carrying over this to the sink, and we have a designated sink for like dumping chemicals because obviously you don't want to dump chemicals down like a normal sink just because there's always some kind of issue. There are some chemicals that might interact with water weirdly. Um,
Or,
so it's
put an anthrax directly into the, drinking water supply.
the
Not a
water
great
supply.
idea.
Same. But anyways, so she sets it down and she's like, "What the fuck?" And like it starts smoking heavily, and she puts her face over it, and like it starts smoking a lot, and she starts like coughing, and her eyes are watering, and like our teacher's like, are you okay?"
I mean, even if my lungs were literally being melted, I would just be, fuck yeah, what do you think?
Right. Anyways, so like, did I say a name?
I've yet to hear a name, but
Okay, so I didn't think I said a name, but I was making sure. Anyway, so we'll call them Erilyn. Let's say that. So he's like, "Erilyn, are you okay?" And they run over, and she's like wheezing, and like her eyes are like they're swelling, and she's like, "Oh fuck, I can't breathe, and my eyes are so shut." And she's touching her face, and he's like, "Stop touching your face. What did you put in the tube?" She's like, "I was just combining everything to carry it over to the sink." And like this thing is like fuming, like it's hot, like it's bubbling at this point, and so it's like filling the room with like this gas. So like he carries her out and like takes her over to like there's like an eye wash statement or I sorry not a statement but a eye wash
State.
station. Yeah, not statement, station. And starts washing her eyes out, and like she's like gargling water and spitting it out, trying to like clear out her mouth if anything. And he goes back in there with like his shirt over his face and like picks up this glass bottle and just yeets it into the sink and turns the water on. Glass bottle shatters in the sink. He just turns the water on and is just trying to get it down the sink because he doesn't want to hold on to it for too long, and he doesn't want to be in close contact with it because he doesn't know what the fuck is in there. But yeah, so that was the time that we almost almost had multiple fatalities because somebody accidentally made some kind of gas.
So, fun fact for the viewers at home: when a chemical is mixed with another chemical and it creates heat, there are two names for that. The scientific names for it being one, an exothermic reaction, and two, a huge fucking problem.
And for fans of the Geneva Convention, it's also a war crime.
Your classmate very well might have commit actual war crimes against you and your friends.
So yeah,
To put it lightly.
to put it lightly, seriously. But yeah, so I figured that was a funny story to leave it on, but that was a good time. I don't remember what they ended up saying was in the bottle. I want to say that it was like a bunch of different shit because we were testing with a bunch of different stuff that day, and the previous class that was in chemistry left some stuff out. So you know, it's hard to say like what all was in the like in the tubes. So just for people out there, just make the extra trips, carry a bunch of tubes if you need to, and dump it down the sink. Let's don't have a repeat of my incident that I explained to you here today, because we had I remember because on the outside of any lab there's like a ventilation button you can click, and it's like break glass in case of emergency type shit. Like you press the button, it turns on the ventilators, and basically if you're stuck in that room, like it sucks the air out of the room, so you're gonna die.
So die from inhaling Zyklon B, or
Get
have
the
all of
oxygen.
the oxygen physically removed from your lungs. Ooh,
Right.
that's a tough one. Not sure I was ready for this game of either or.
Right. Oh man. But yeah, so I figured I would leave off on that because I feel like that was very pertinent to our conversation of mustard gas and World War One.
Yeah, that sounds like a good place to leave off.
Oh Lord. All right, so guys, if you like the podcast and you want to hear more, or if you want to see other videos that Geek-Stew puts out, you can follow us on YouTube at youtube.com, I think /Geek-Stew. And then you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com /Try the Stew, or you can just search us as at Try the Stew. Or you can find us on Twitter. It's at geek_stew. You can find Salsa Shark on Twitter at Salsa Shark Jr. And you can find me on Twitter at Pint Size Beast. And as always, subscribe, like, comment, share, all of that shit. Also, don't forget, I mentioned this previously, but I'll mention it here too. If you guys are interested in joining the Geek-Stew crew, let us know. We're always open to expanding our brand, so let us know. But anything else from you, Salsa? Any parting words?
I guess if I had any parting words, it would be this. If you're going to commit a war crime, what's the harm in committing all of them? They come in batches for a reason. And I guess I should also add, they're more like suggestions. Anyway, I'll see you next time, Space Cowboy.